Welcome, tennis fans, to the 21st episode of Tennis Traverse Exploring the Game, the podcast that delves into the heart of the tennis world. I'm your host, Ivy Jane, and in today's episode, I will be talking about a round one preview and also some players and some matchups to look out for in general for week one of the Australian Open. But before I start, I just want to apologize that I might be doing a lot of edits and may sound a bit weird like this episode just because I have this like weird coughing stuff. Like I'm not sick, but I just cough randomly and it's really annoying, but everyone around me is kind of sick, so I'm sorry if that hinders your listening experience. And what else? Oh, I'm really okay, so let's do my social media plugins first and I'll just talk about it with that. So please follow all of my social medias, that is Instagram and Twitter, using at Tennis Traverse, that is at Tennis Traverse. If you're listening on YouTube, comment, like, and subscribe. And if you're listening on other streaming platforms, please rate my show and let's get right into today's episode. Okay, so before let's actually get into today's episode, I just want to say I'm really active. Well, I try to be active on Twitter now because Australian Open is happening and there's just so much news and I have so much stuff to say and I just need a platform to say it that's like more often in a way, because for on this podcast it's like a weekly podcast, but on Twitter I can just voice my opinions whenever I want. So I try to be as often, like try to be as active there as possible. However, because I'm a student, I have like a lot of schoolwork, so I'm not really like active. I'm not there every single minute of the day, but I try to be active, especially when there's matches. So yeah, please go subscribe. Sorry, please go follow my Twitter account. And so if you guys haven't noticed, my intro's kind of short because I feel like a 15 seconds intro is really easy for like someone who's new to be like, okay, this is just like random music and they'll click off. So I try to make the intro shorter, like the intro music. Sorry if I think that's irrelevant, but it's okay. So I guess we can just get right into today's episode. There's honestly so much to talk about. And yeah, let's just dive into the ACP side, which is the men's side first. So I predicted the whole draw and I made the draw thing available on Twitter. I posted it there and I'll probably make it available on Instagram as well. I'll just make like those story highlights so you guys can click onto it to see the whole thing. But I'm just gonna recap or like highlight the main round one picks. But before I actually do, there's like a huge news, which is Nadal withdrawing from the Australian Open. I believe when I recorded this last episode, I talked about how we're all really looking forward to Nadal playing in the tournament in Australian Open. However, he had like a tear, I think it's a muscle injury. However, it's not in his hip, which is like the part where he tore and he like missed a whole year on. It's like another part of his body, but he said that he's not in the condition to do 5 set matches, which is understandable. And in case you guys didn't know, Grand Slams, like the biggest 4 tournaments in the world, they're competed in 5 matches. So like, no, sorry, 5 sets. It's 5 deciding sets. So, for example, if the score is 2-all, they play 1 set, whereas in like other tournaments, it's 1-all, and then the players play the third set. So it requires more physical, like it's more physically demanding, and it only applies to the male players. Okay, so let's just talk first about some round one matchups that I put down, and note that I didn't do all of them. I didn't recap all of them just because there's so much. If you guys want to check out the full thing, like I said before, please go to my Twitter or my Instagram. But some of the matchups were the most, I feel like, exciting matchup is between Felix Auger-Aliassime versus Dominic Thiem. So back in the days, this matchup would never happen just because Felix was like ranked around the top 15 and Dominic Thiem literally has a Grand Slam. So they were both seeded players, and seeded players won't ever face against each other in the first round. So yeah, it was just like a matchup that I could only dream about, but now it's like actually happening just because Dominic Thiem is going into this tournament unseeded. And we talked about how Felix is kind of having an underwhelming few seasons because of his injury. He's just like fallen off a cliff, whereas Dominic Thiem, he had a wrist injury. I talked about this multiple times, and he just wasn't he didn't go back to the level he was before. So obviously this is sort of like a matchups between two underwhelming players, but I think it will be really exciting. And let me see. So I predicted that Dominic Thiem will break through, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I said Dominic Thiem will break through just because I feel like Dominic Thiem overall, he's been more consistent in his tournament playing. Like, for example, he played in Brisbane where he faced Nadal. Even though he lost with a score of 5-7, 1-6, he has this sort of momentum to his game that Felix somehow lacks. And also because Dominic Thiem, he was playing regularly throughout the past few seasons, even though he hasn't been achieving the results he would like to, but at least he's been like getting used to Grand Slams playing and just all the routine that a normal player will go through. However, Auger-Aliassime, on the other hand, he's like really experiencing that. So I feel like Dominic Thiem, he will upset Felix Auger-Aliassime and he'll advance to round two. So that's a round one matchup that I think is really highly anticipated and everyone should tune into it. Okay, so the second one I want to talk about is Alex de Minaur and Raonic. So this matchup is also something that is really exciting. So Alex de Minaur is an Australian, and he's just really exciting. He's an exciting player. He has amazing court coverage. So actually, during the exhibition match, he played against Carlos Alcaraz in Australia, and he actually won in a tiebreak in the third set, if I'm not mistaken. Whereas, like, yeah, I think it was a tiebreak in the third set, and he also beat Novak Djokovic like 2 weeks ago or like 1 week ago in the United Cup and was amazing. He won in two straight sets, which is not an easy thing to do against someone like Djokovic. So that's a note I do want to make, that I think everyone should look out for him, especially because he has the Australian crowd support like with him just because he's from Australia, right? And he's playing against Raonic for his round one matchup, and this will be exciting because Raonic played against Stefanos Tsitsipas in U.S. Open last year, and everyone was like, okay, Raonic is gonna upset Tsitsipas. It did not happen, but it was an exciting match nonetheless. And I feel like this is going to be an exciting matchup because two players have so different playing styles. For Alex de Minaur, it's more about court coverage. He can run to every single point and chase every single point out, and using that, he is able to sort of force the opponent and like slowly turn from a defensive position to an offensive position, whereas Raonic, he's really powerful. He relies on his serve. He relies more on his service game. So I feel like the two different types of player will make a really amazing round one matchup. So I'm really looking forward to it. Okay, let's move on to the other one, and it's Stefanos Tsitsipas and Berrettini. So this one, I guess, so not really much to say about this, but like Matteo Berrettini, he's coming back from an ankle injury which he suffered in US Open round one last year. It was devastating. He was like rolling on the court crying. It was just really sad. And I said that Tsitsipas is going to advance just because Steph has more experience, even though we could argue that they both have a lot of experience. Well, that's not a point to argue. Like, I agree that both players have a lot of experience. But I do want to mention that, of course, Matteo is coming back from an injury, so I'm really looking forward to see how he does in these tournaments because he's like really good and he's a really stable player before his injury. So yeah, I'm just kind of not sure how he will do, but I'm just really looking forward to this matchup. Who knows, maybe Matteo will like just go back to the level he was before and just like upset Tsitsipas, but like I have no idea what's gonna happen because I don't think he played any preparational tournaments coming into the Australian Open. So this is his first like comeback match, and it's against Stefanos Tsitsipas. So it's gonna be insane. Okay, I guess we can move on to some upsets that I think will happen. So if you guys want to check out the all the matchups I listed, please go to my Twitter or my Instagram. Okay, so some biggest upsets for the men's side. So I just wanted, I think for the men's side, there's less compared to the women's side. So for the men's side, I just have one big upset, and I think that I'm like kind of confident it will happen, which is Roman Safalin will beat the 28th seed Greek sport just because Safalin's doing so amazing last season. He beat Carlos Alcaraz during like towards the end, and I'm pretty sure he also like managed to go pretty far. I think it was the semifinals in Brisbane International where he lost to Holger Rune. So I think he has a lot of experience coming into this Grand Slam, whereas Greek Sport, I think he played in like one of those preparational tournaments, but he either lost in round 1 or round 2 where he like didn't play at all. Wait, let me search it up. Okay, yeah, he did not play in any of the preparational tournaments. So I think this will for sure be like an amazing matchup, and looking forward to it. I really like the style of tennis from Safalin. I feel like he plays with a lot of like he's really smart about his positioning on court. And I don't know, I think a lot of players was like if Safalin didn't get injured, he'll be in a top 15 right now, and I agree with that. I feel like he's really smart and he has a lot of talent, so looking forward to this matchup. Okay, so we're finished with the upsets. Now let's talk about the title contenders. So I have 3 title contenders for the men's side. First is Djokovic. Not that much explaining to do. He always do super well in the start of the tournament, especially if it's a Grand Slam. The only concern, however, is his wrist because during United Cup, he reported that his wrist was not feeling well. However, like during the exhibition match and during the practice matches, his like pain just like he said he can deal with it. It's better than the injury he experienced last year or like the past few years. So not really sure if the injury will play a huge part, but number 1 title contender in my opinion is going to be Novak. Second title contender, I'll say Yannick Sinner, just because he like did so well last season. He beat he beat Novak twice. Not though like he didn't beat Novak when it like actually mattered during the elimination rounds, like during the final, but he beat Novak. So that's like a huge accomplishment for him. And I just feel like somehow this is like he is one of the best players that don't have a slam yet, and he does consistently well in slams, and he's like not like the other players such as Stefanos Tsitsipas that or like Andrei Rublev. Like those players, they often just lose against like players who are seated higher against him. However, Sinner always has a chance and he always fights and he's really quiet on court. He's really smart. He's really humble, so I love that about him. So I said Sinner's the number 2 seed. Well, no, sorry, not the number 2 seed, but the number 2 title contender. So the third title contender, in my opinion, is Carlos Alcaraz. I don't know honestly why I put him third, but like compared to the other title contenders, Stefanos Tsitsipas, I just like even though he went to the finals last year, I feel like he's just how do I say it? I feel like just doesn't have it in him yet because he always loses against players who are ranked higher than him. So when he plays in the semifinals or the finals, for example, he'll obviously most likely face someone who's ranked higher than him. So yeah, okay. And the other ones like Rublev always has trouble also playing against players who are ranked higher than him. So I feel like if you want to win a Grand Slam, you really have to in a way have the mental strength to like literally win 7 games back to back, and you also have to have the mental strength to beat players who are seated higher than you if you're not the number 1 seed, because it's just gonna happen. So I feel like Carlos is the only person here that can do it. So I put Carlos as my third title contender. And I guess like my prediction of the final is Djokovic versus Zverev. I don't know what happened. Alcaraz and Zverev as like a quarterfinals, but I said Zverev is gonna beat Alcaraz, and between Alcaraz and Dimitrov, I said Zverev's gonna win, and then Zverev and Djokovic will be the final, and Djokovic will ultimately come out on top. So that's my prediction. Don't know if it's gonna be correct or not, but yeah. And now I guess we can move on to the women's side, and there's actually so much stuff to talk about for the women's side. The first point I want to mention is hands down the best draw, like literally the best draw. I'm really looking forward to this draw. It's gonna be amazing. There's so many round one matchups that are just insane. I think part of it is because a lot of players are returning, such as Naomi Osaka, Angelique Kerber, Emma Raducanu, Sofia Kenin, just to name a few. There's so many players that's coming back and hoping that this is their breakthrough tournament after kind of a break from tennis, or like an injury break from tennis. So yeah, there's just so much stuff to talk about. But let's just talk firstly about the round one matchups first. So there's so many matchups on my list. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 8 matchups that I think are amazing, but we'll just talk about a few of them. So the first one, namely, I put down Rybakina versus Pliskova. So this, in my opinion, is literally an insane matchup. Just because Rybakina, obviously, she got a title in Brisbane after literally bageling Arina Sabalenka, the former Australian Open champion, and like in the first set, and she won the second set with a score of 6-3, equally as impressive. So obviously she's on fire right now. And Pliskova, on the other hand, she's also doing amazing. So Caroline Pliskova, she played in Brisbane and she beat Naomi Osaka. Even though both players are like kind of doing considerably, they're like, it's not, I don't want to say like at their downfall, but like they're not as high level as they were before. So it was just like, I think in my opinion, an insane sort of match. Like it was just, I don't know how to say it, but like it was kind of like it was throwback from what happened in the past few years. But I don't know, I think this is gonna be insane because like the matchup between Naomi Osaka and Pliskova was insane. Like it was like literally one of the high quality matches, and probably one of the best matches of 2024. Even though it's this early and I'm saying that already, but I truly believe that. So this matchup is gonna be insane. Okay, so the next matchup I want to talk about is going to be, let's see, it's going to be Danielle Collins versus Angelique Kerber. So Kerber is coming back from giving birth to 2 children, if I'm not wrong. So it's going to be an insane matchup. Kerber, she got her first title after coming back at the United Cup, where Team Germany basically beat Team Poland. And in case you guys didn't know, the United Cup is sort of like the World Cup, where like different countries compete against each other. So yeah, it was like an amazing return back to tennis from Kerber. So I think this is gonna be an amazing matchup. Danielle Collins, not that much to say about her. She's been to Grand Slam finals. She's doing amazing. So I think this is gonna be a good matchup. And what else? Okay, the next matchup I do want to talk about. Well, not a matchup. I feel like this one leans more on the upset side. Well, like I feel like this matchup can count as both like a good matchup and an upset. So, okay, so it's Naomi Osaka versus Caroline Garcia, who's ranked number 16th. So not that much to be, well, there's a lot to be said because of Naomi, but Osaka, this is her first ever Grand Slam after giving birth, after coming back. So the stakes are gonna be really high. However, I feel like her goal is just to enjoy herself, and obviously, like many of the reporters said, I feel like both of those players are not really happy when they saw the other player's name put up against theirs. So I feel like I lean more towards Naomi Osaka winning this, not biased, like not at all biased, because I feel like Naomi Osaka, even though she hasn't been playing and getting into the routine, she was doing more successful at Brisbane compared to Caroline Garcia, who she also was doing good, but last season just wasn't at all. Well, last season wasn't as successful as her last season, where she won the WTA finals at Cocoon. So wait, sorry, not Cocoon. Wait, where was it? It was in Texas, right? Yeah, it was in Texas. So it was just not at all successful. So I feel like their serves are going to be a big component in this matchup because obviously both players have amazing serves. One of Carolina Garcia's weapon from last few seasons was her serve. Like, she always does really well on her serves. And Naomi Osaka, I feel like she's kind of known for her serve. So I feel like it's going to be an insane matchup. I really hope Naomi could win, though. She's my favorite. I think everyone knows this. And, oh, yeah. Okay, one more thing. I like the biography by Ben Rothenberg came, and I'm reading it so far, and I kind of said that I'll devour in like a day, but I kind of want to savor it now. I don't know. I just I feel like it's an easy read, but I just want to savor it. I don't know. So I haven't been reading it on a really fast pace, but I think I'm like halfway through almost. So I don't know. There's like some thoughts surrounding it. I like it's mostly positive, that's for sure, but there's some like stuff I do want to talk about. But I'm probably gonna do a book review episode after Australian Open because for these two episodes it will just be me busy covering Australian Open just because there's just literally so much stuff going on around a Grand Slam. But after it, I'll be trying to do a book review, and it's mostly positive, rest assured. And I really love how someone is writing a book about Naomi. And spoiler alert, it talked a lot more than just Naomi as a tennis player. I feel like it really got into her personal life, her business, like just like her brand surrounding her, and how she's like put out to the world as like, if that makes any sense. Like, I cried reading like the really emotional parts, but I just really love it, and I think it portrayed her more as like a person and an athlete, which is exactly what Naomi Osaka wants. Wait, okay, this is getting too into the book, but rest assured I will do a book review, but just not soon. And I have a 3-day weekend, so maybe I'll try to finish most of it. So yeah, looking forward to the book review. Okay, so let's just go back to Australian Open. So that's the biggest upset in round one, I feel like. And there's another upset is Wozniacki versus Magdalena, who was ranked number 20. So Caroline Wozniacki, obviously, she just came back and she had a great run at US Open last season. So I feel like she's going to beat Magdalena, who has been there and not been there. Like, she's always been doing really well, ranking in the top like 50s, but she's just sort of there, you know? So I feel like Caroline Wozniacki do have the ability to upset her, so I think this is one of the upsets. Okay, what else to talk about? Okay, yeah, the top 4 contenders in my opinion. So I put 4 just because I feel like for the women's side, there's just more players that I think are capable of winning the tournament. I guess this is part because of how like the WTA tour hasn't been like really fluctuating. Like there's like a lot of more upsets in the WTA tour compared to the ATP tour, but I do want to mention how I feel like there's definitely more frequently some upsets going on as well. But yeah, okay, so the first title contender in my opinion will be Iga Swiatek. She's going into this Australian Open on fire, literally. She played in the United Cup for her country, Poland, and she's like been winning every single match. And they had like a few championship points, but they just didn't manage to convert it. But I think Iga has a really good chance of winning. And after me drawing my whole bracket out, I do have Iga Swiatek winning the Australian Open. So the second player that I feel like is worth mentioning is Elena Rybakina, and the reason I put her second and Arena Sabalenka third is because Elena obviously bageled Arena, Sabalenka like in Brisbane. So I feel like that's just like self-explanatory in a way, but like in the especially in the WTA tour, you can just like lose to a player a week, and then after a week you can literally bagel them. It's like so unpredictable. But still, I put Elena Rybakina first, and I said like after doing out my draw, I said like surprisingly she like didn't go too far in my draw. I said that she'll go to the quarterfinals where she'll lose against Pegula just because Pegula beat her during like a lot of tournaments and she has like a more superior head to head, but I didn't think of Pegula as a title contender. I have no idea why, but like players such as Swiatek, she just has like such an amazing head to head against Pegula that I feel like it's more of a mental game that I think Iga Swiatek is gonna win. So yeah, and the third player is Arina Sabalenka. So she was obviously the defending champion, and I have her playing in the final. So I said, like after doing out the draw, I feel like her draw isn't like her quarter isn't as competitive, even though they do have Ons Jabbar, but Jabbar just hasn't been performing as well as probably she would like to because obviously she's been dealing with like illness during US Open and she just hasn't been performing that well. So I said, okay, this was a bold prediction, but said she will be facing an upset in round 2 if Amira Andreeva advances. So even though I feel like Jabbar's definitely more experienced, I just feel like I don't know, I have like a gut feeling about this one. So I put on Andreeva. And I said Sabalenka will play against Alexandrova in the quarterfinals where Sabalenka will advance, and now leads us to our fourth title contender, which is Coco Gauff, which is I feel like a fan favorite. She was like my fan favorite. Oh, she got my fan favorite award last season, and I feel like she has one. So I said she'll play against Sabalenka in the semifinals where Sabalenka will come out on top, and it'll kind of be like a revenge from sort of like what happened in the US Open. So yeah, really looking forward if this matchup happens. And last thing I want to mention, if Coco Gauff advance and if Naomi Osaka advance, which could be quite difficult because if we look at the draw for Osaka, she has to beat Garcia first. After beating Garcia, she has to play against an Australia favorite, Daria Saville, where she played against, I believe, in 2021 or 20. No, sorry, 20. Literally don't know. 2021 or yeah, 2021. And sorry, and she kind of like Daria Saville tore her ACL and the matchup just sort of never happened. So I said Osaka will beat her, and if Osaka beat her, she have to beat Putintseva. After beating Putintseva or Potapova, she has to play against Gauff, and that's where I think Osaka's journey ends because even though Osaka is coming back really, really strong, I just don't feel like she has because you have to play so many matches. So I feel like she'll be kind of exhausted. And Gauff, on the other hand, she's still really, really young. She's not given birth. And I just feel like she has more, not experience in a way, but she has sort of just more, she's like better physically. So I said, and also she won a title in Auckland. So she's definitely in her top condition, top form. So yeah. Okay, I guess that's all we have to talk about, but thank you so much for listening. There's so much stuff that's going on right now, and next episode we'll be going into the fourth round. It's going to be next week. I'm so excited to see what will happen. I can't believe it's Grand Slam season again, and we'll finally be able to see some actions from tennis. Really looking forward to it, honestly. So please follow all of my social medias, Instagram, Twitter, using @TennisTrivers. That is @TennisTrivers. And please, honestly, everyone, go check out my Twitter. I'm like trying to be as active as I can on there. There's like literally so much stuff that's going on. And I feel like Twitter is a really good platform for me to connect with other sports or tennis journalists. So yeah, please, if you're listening on YouTube, comment, like, and subscribe. If you're listening on other streaming platforms, please rate my show. And I guess that's all. I'll see you guys next week after the third round of the Australian Open. Bye.